So, after all that tough talk, it looks like China may be blinking. Well, not officially, of course. I mean, you're not going to see President Xi holding a press conference saying, "We give up." But recently, China quietly has been exempting some U.S. goods from its massive tariffs. We're talking semiconductors and medical equipment and a few other strategic imports. And why? Because their economy is hurting. Domestic demand is down. Unemployment is rising, and companies, they're under real pressure. Now, these exemptions, they didn't happen immediately after Trump, ramped up his tariffs in April, but they did come at a time when the trade war is reaching new heights. And China's economy, it's clearly feeling the pressure. And some folks are going to say, no, it's the United States that's desperate and China's economy is strong. But if that were true, why lift any tariffs? I mean, why not keep the pressure on? What we're seeing, it's not surrender, but it's not strength either. I mean, it's a strategic retreat. China's protecting its weak spots while trying to save face. And let's be honest, Trump's tariff pressure, it is working, at least enough to force China to blink. You agree? Disagree? Light up the comments. I know you will.
Stop worrying, guys. China could not win this trade war against the US because it boils down to one simple fact. America is the buyer, China is the seller, and the buyer always wins if they can buy somewhere else. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, just good enough. And America, it's not just one country. It's like 50 different states fused together to create one monster consuming behemoth. And let me explain it like this more simply. Imagine the biggest construction firm in the United States buys 20,000 Ford trucks every single year. Now, Ford won't give them their best price, and this construction company finds out. Why? Because Ford just assumes they're always going to buy them and they'll have the business. But guess what? They can actually switch the whole dang order to Dodge. Now, sure, will it be a headache? Yeah. But can they do it? Absolutely. Because guess what? Dodge also makes trucks, and Ford needs this massive order, but the firm just needs the trucks. So the buyer that has options holds the power. Now, America is that buyer with options in Vietnam, Malaysia, and eventually with automated factories here in the US. So the US actually has the power to wipe out millions of jobs in China by simply redirecting where the manufacturing is or bringing it back on shore. And if the US starts actually making the stuff that they're buying again, it's game over for China's current business model. So now remember the golden rule. The buyer with options calls the shots, period. And if you want to see what stocks are going to benefit most, give me a follow.
So guess who blinked? It wasn't the US, China did. Almost immediately after the United States raised our tariff against China to 245%, China was on the phone saying, "We want to talk to you guys about trade." First, it was Japan this week. Yesterday, it was Italy. And today is South Korea. Next in line might be China. China's gonna win. The United States has only been around for 200 something years. China's been alive for 5,000. Bro, stop. It's just so funny that everybody's like, oh, the US is about to blink. Right now, China's like this. And you want to know why? Because regardless of how long they've been around, they've never been around a country that is not going to back down the way the US is taking a stand today. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't hear how China had contacted the EU, had contacted Japan, had contacted Korea, had contacted all of these individuals that are now setting up appointments with the United States about trade. Somehow the world thought all the nations would run to China to seek agreement. And the exact opposite happened. The EU had one conversation with China and they're like, you know what? Yeah, we can't do this. We're going to go make friends with the United States again. The UK, like, you know what? We're going to try to team up with China because we got to teach the US a lesson. Now the UK wants to talk to the United States again. So much for being around for 5,000 years, huh? And I could almost guarantee the individuals that are going to be in my comment section like, no, China knows what they're doing. The U.S. called them. No, bro, the U.S. didn't call them. China called us. Because for some reason, China thought Biden was still in office. He thought Kamala Harris was still vice president. That ain't what that's not what's happening today. So once again, a younger nation won. 5,000-year-old nation? Zero.
You know, I'll tell the same thing to the president of China as I'll tell all of you, is that your ego is not your amigo. And Donald Trump, he's holding all the cards. You know, what you got to understand with this trade war is that it is all about respect, and it's all about saving face. And President Xi of China, he can't look to be embarrassed in front of all of his other partners that are out there, part of the Communist Party. Just can't do it, won't allow it, won't let it happen. So his back is against the wall. He knows he has to come to the negotiating table, and he's probably right now, as we're speaking and making this video, trying to figure out how we can do it without being an embarrassment to all the rest of the Communist Party, because their whole country is about to collapse. We truly don't need them. You know, we truly don't need, we can do everything here. We are smart, we're efficient. We don't need to buy clothes. We don't need to buy shoes. I've got everything in my closet that I ever need. We've got food, we've got water. That's what we need. We got a roof over our head. The sun is shining beautiful. You know, think of it this way. Think of it this way. You're at the poker table and you're at the final table with the final two players. Both of their cards are on the ground. You can't see him. She looks under. It's like, oh, fuck, man. I'm holding a pair of twos. And he looks across the table and he sees that grin from Donald Trump. Because he knows the President of the United States is holding a royal motherfucking flush.
Taiwan is the last symbol of America being dominant in the world. If China takes that from us, it is us accepting becoming a second-rate country with no influence. And we're going to turn into a third-world country. It's going to be pathetic. I'm a believer that we should, as Americans, put boots on the ground. I'm willing to lose American lives in Taiwan.
Wow, that's a strong statement.
Like I said, we pulled out of Africa. We're pulling out of Europe, essentially, in terms of our sphere of influence with this whole NATO debacle. Asia is our last theater where we are strong. The Philippines, Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea look to us and ask us, what do we do? And they fall in line. They follow all our doctrine. They vote with us on everything. They are essentially colonies. They are our boys. And if we allow China to take over Taiwan, that sends a message to the rest of our guys out there, hey, you might want to start looking for new management because we're not going to come defend you. So they're going to stop fucking with us because the whole thing is like, we kind of guarantee their sovereignty. So they're going to go, oh, fuck that. We're going to start making new deals and cut America out because they're not going to come defend us. The second thing is we made a sovereign promise to defend Taiwan's sovereignty. If we do not show up to meet that promise in full force, no one in the world trusts us anymore. The American promise means nothing, and it's also the clear handing over of the torch to China as the new world superpower. If they come into our backyard, take over our ally, and we don't lift a finger, it is us handing over the torch going, China, you've bested us. You are now the global superpower. You will soon become the global hegemony on culture. And this is us accepting that. We're not even going to lift a finger to stop it. So I am willing, because I'm such a patriot, we have to send everything. I don't care if we lose the SS Truman, our flagship, not one step back in Taiwan. Not one, because it's our last final stand of America as the global superpower.
Right now, their country's falling apart. People have not been paid in 6 months, these factory workers down there. People are burning down factories, dozens of factories all over the country because people are fed up. They're not getting paid. China is falling apart from the inside out. They're trying to maintain this face.
Yeah, do you think that those internal tensions that they're facing could threaten the regime?
Absolutely. I mean, when people are starving, when they have no money, you're going to lose the government. Like, you can't have an unstable base like that. He's fighting a war on the outside and a war on the inside.
Well, don't you think that would incentivize Xi to want to make a deal with the United States as fast as possible?
Yeah, you would think that, but that's not how China works. It's all about saving face. They have to preserve that image that China is rock solid.
Because if they were willing to sacrifice on the pride, they would make a deal with the United States. We would lower barriers reciprocally, bilaterally, and probably both countries would
benefit,
would do
massively,
better as a consequence. But you say pride stops that, but then on the other side of that pride is the realism of these challenging internal economic dynamics. What do you think gives first?
China is a communist country, first and foremost. You cannot give the people too much power in that situation. The state is holding it together with an iron fist. And if they start trying to make compromises here and compromises there, that immortal, implacable facade that they have just starts eroding. Hopefully all this sets up a scenario where we can have a fall of the Berlin Wall, a fall of the Great Wall.
You're being lied to. You're being told America's winning this trade war, that Trump's 54% tariff on China is going to bring back jobs. Crush Beijing and put America first? What if I told you China's not panicking, they're planning? They literally hold all the cards. If you're a day trader or worse, you have your retirement tied to US stocks, this might be your last warning. The tariff fight, it's not about trade. It's a financial chess move. And guess what? Winnie the Pooh, Chi, he's playing to win. Now I know what the trolls will say. Bro, China's cooked. 300 billion trade surplus about to vanish. These tariffs will crush them. Yeah, you think China didn't game this out a decade back, you big dummy? Let me explain. Facts. Exports are only about 20% of China's GDP, and 85% of their exports go to countries that aren't in the US. So yeah, it hurts. It's not fatal. Meanwhile, here in the United States, we're addicted to debt. And guess who's holding our IOUs, which you might have known if you were in my community with my team, run by a former investment banker in Hong Kong. You see, because China holds over $750 billion in US Treasury debt, they don't need to dump it all. All they need is to trickle it out at the perfect point. Like when the US is trying to refinance trillions of debt. Boom! Interest rates spike, stocks crash, retirement accounts get torched. Do you still think Xi's bluffing? Take notes. I'm about to give you 2 more reasons what he has up his sleeve. Number 1, the BRICS play, the dollar punisher. China's leading a new payment system with Russia, India, Brazil, and South Africa. It's de-dollarizing global trade, making the US dollar less important with every deal. You think inflation is bad now? Wait until demand for US dollar vanishes. Number 2, write this down, rare earth monopoly. China controls 70% of the world's rare earth refining. You know the stuff we need for phones, fighter jets, EVs, AI chips. You want to play hardball? They can choke our supply chain overnight. And while America plays culture wars and TikTok politics, pro-Palestine marches on campuses, China's building empires with AI. Here are examples. Take notes, save this video, and share it with a friend to discuss. Sensei Time. It's a Chinese AI firm which is already rolling out up-to-date facial recognitions for cities and logistics. ByteDance's Lark is replacing Zoom and Slack across all of Asia. And Tencent is using AI co-pilots into medical, legal, and fintech ecosystems. You're busy tweeting. They're busy taking your future. So here's the truth. Nobody genuinely wants to hear this. Trump's unfortunately out of moves. Xi isn't. And this economic Super Bowl ends the way it's heading. China wins, America loses, and your portfolio gets cut in half. Don't say nobody warned you, but this is preventable. There's a growing class of Chinese companies undervalued and overlooked by Western investors. Companies that are thriving, building in AI, clean energy, logistics, and global payments. You can hedge, still be a patriotic American just like me. You can profit, you can protect your future, but not by listening to cable news or Twitter threads from fake economists who aren't actually in the trenches like you and me are. You need intel from the source, from someone who's actually has worked in private equity and investment banking. Our co-founder is an ex-investment banker in Hong Kong. He's helped institutions navigate. Now he's helping people like you. Join our trading community right now. This is about making money. Not just that, but not about losing everything either. Don't be the guy that wakes up one morning and sees the Dow Jones smash 10,000 points and thinks, darn, I should have listened. Click the link right now. Join my team. Diversity before the collapse. This is your hedge. This is your warning. Clock's up.
If you put tariffs on China, prices will go up. Donald Trump did exactly that. Manufacturing came back and prices went down for American citizens.
This is not true. After the series of tariffs passed in 2018, U.S. consumer prices for affected goods rose. Boom, boom, and boom. This is in contrast to the Chinese and non-Chinese goods that were not affected by the tariffs. And then China responded with retaliatory tariffs, and that affected our export prices. American producers and farmers had to lower their selling price to China in order to compete. Source: after doing a little bit of math and science, they find that tariffs exhibited nearly complete pass-through to the consumer. The incidence of the tariff lies largely with the United States. This is not an isolated result. Another paper here looked at the large 20% tariff placed on all imported washing machines. They found that the price of washers and dryers rose after the tariff, that's the red and blue line, and this is in comparison with other large appliances which did not see a price rise, the refrigerators in green and dishwashers in yellow. Some might be saying, hey, I'll pay those prices if it means saving U.S. jobs. Okay, I'm sympathetic to that goal, but is this the best way to do that? Washing machines became more expensive, and that resulted with a total cost to consumers of $1.5 billion every year. We can divide that by the number of domestic jobs that might have been saved, and we find a cost of roughly $900,000 per job. Now, where did that money go? Not to the workers. They were making a salary a tenth of that. It mostly just vanishes into thin air. Less trade means less efficiency. Tariffs gum up our production processes. Throwing a wrench into the machine to save a mechanic's job is not a path to sustainable prosperity. In fact, once we take into account all the effects of the retaliatory tariffs, this paper finds that U.S. manufacturing experiences reduction in employment and increases in producer prices. And you can see the picture here. Less employment and higher prices. A recent paper looked at the counties that were affected by the trade war. Protectionist tariffs didn't save any jobs, and then the retaliatory tariffs had a clear negative employment impact. There's a reason why economists from all different political backgrounds agree that tariffs are borne by the consumers.
Countries officially announced they will stop using the U.S. dollar for trade. I mean, this could be just the beginning. Trump's relentless tariffs, sanctions, and reckless spending have weakened the dollar's strength. He may have once believed his policies would make America stronger, but now those very policies are pushing America out of the global financial spotlight. If the dollar loses its status as the global reserve currency, inflation will soar, prices will rise, and the purchasing power of ordinary Americans will decline. Your savings could lose value and your cost of living may skyrocket. Worse yet, the world is moving on without us. Countries once controlled by the dollar are now embracing their own currencies and stepping into the global trade arena with confidence. This shift isn't just about currency. It's about losing influence, losing power, and potentially losing our place in the world. How do you feel about the dollar's decline? Is it Trump's fault, or is this just the inevitable result of America's financial dominance fading away?
Now, he has a point. We've been hearing for years now that China is cheating, that they've rigged the system, broken the rules, stolen their way to prosperity. You'll hear terms like forced technology transfers, intellectual property theft, state subsidies, dumping, currency manipulation. And yes, these are serious issues. But if we really want to understand what happened over the last 30 years, why America lost millions of good-paying jobs, why our infrastructure is collapsing, why theirs is rising, why China now leads the world in manufacturing, EVs, and high-speed rail, we need to look past the slogans and ask the uncomfortable question, is China really cheating, or did our own elites simply sell us out? For years, foreign companies wanting to access to the Chinese market had to partner with Chinese firms and share their proprietary technology. That's called a forced technology transfer. Critics say this gave China an unfair advantage, but let's be honest, no one was forced. Western firms wanted a slice of the biggest market on earth. They willingly traded tech for profits. And China said, we'll let you in, but you have to teach us how to build. And we said, yes, over and over and over again, because our CEOs weren't thinking 20 years ahead. They were thinking about their next quarterly earnings call. Yes, there's IP theft, there's hacking, there's state support, but let's not pretend we're innocent. The U.S. runs its own espionage operations. We've interfered in governments around the world, and when it comes to subsidies, The U.S. subsidizes agriculture, defense, oil and gas, Wall Street bailouts, and now tech firms under the CHIPS Act. We don't admit it. China does it openly because their system, the economy serves the nation. In our system, the economy serves shareholders. Currency manipulation? Well, that was true 20 years ago, but not anymore. China's actually spent the last decade propping up its currency to maintain stability. And non-tariff barriers, yes, China plays protectionist games, but so does everyone else, including us. We ban chip sales, restrict Huawei, embargo countries, and rewrite financial regulations to serve American interests. The reality is this. China didn't steal our prosperity. Our own elites gave it away. They pushed for China's entry into the WTO. They offshored factories, dismantled unions, and told American workers to learn to code. The steel towns collapsed. The textile mills vanished. The auto parts industry got hollowed out. But the Dow Jones hit record highs, and that's all that mattered. And what did China do with its surplus? It didn't hand out stock buybacks. It didn't pump the money into speculative finance. It built high-speed rail, smart cities, new energy grids, entire industries from scratch. And what did we do? Well, we built financial bubbles. We gutted public schools. We defunded infrastructure. We gave tax cuts to the ultra wealthy and told everyone else to tighten their belts. And now we think tariffs are going to fix this? Tariffs are like putting duct tape on a collapsing bridge. They raise prices, disrupt supply chains, and they invite retaliation. They don't build new factories. They don't create a workforce. They don't fix our broken system. At best, they're a pause button. But we don't need a pause. We need a reset. The only way forward is to rebuild this country from the ground up. That means a national industrial policy, one that actually names strategic sectors and invests in them long term. That means infrastructure on the scale of the New Deal, not pothole patchwork. It means vocational training, apprenticeships, and skilled labor being treated with the respect it deserves. It means breaking up the monopolies, punishing offshoring, banning stock buybacks, and rewarding companies that build here, hire here, and stay here. But instead of doing that, instead of focusing on America, what are we doing? We're talking about war with Iran. We're dropping bombs on Yemen. We're spending billions, waging proxy wars on behalf of a foreign government while our own cities look like war zones. We're pushing endless military aid packages, inflaming global tensions, and marching toward another conflict that has nothing to do with the American people and everything to do with the interests of defense contractors and their lobbyists. And when we're not trying to start a war, we're fantasizing about expanding our empire, making Canada a U.S. state, buying Greenland, stationing troops on every continent, guarding pipelines and mineral routes while our own border is a disaster and our veterans sleep in tents. This isn't America first. This is empire first, globalism first, elites first. If we really believed in putting America first, we wouldn't be policing the world. We'd be rebuilding our country. We'd have the best rail in the world, the cleanest water, the strongest power grid, the most resilient supply chains, the best educated workforce, the most secure borders. But we don't. Because our leaders aren't interested in America as a nation. They're interested in America as an empire, a brand, a vehicle for wealth extraction. And that's the greatest betrayal of all. Because China is playing for China, acting in its own self-interest. Our ruling class is acting in their interest, not yours, not mine, not the country's. So no, the real problem isn't that China is cheating. The real problem is we've been lied to by the people who sold us a dream they never believed in, who hollowed out our middle class, who told us it was normal to work 3 jobs and still be broke, who mocked the idea of rebuilding this country while cashing checks from companies that sent your job to another continent. They handed China the blueprints. They signed the deals. They wrote the trade laws. And now they want to blame the people who took advantage of the opportunity they created? No, that's not cheating. That's smart. Ruthless, yes. Strategic, absolutely. But we should be taking notes, not throwing tantrums. If we want to win again, we don't need more sanctions. We need more engineers. We don't need more aircraft carriers. We need more factories. We don't need another $1 trillion war. We need a $1 trillion investment in America, in workers, in cities, in families, in sovereignty. You want America to be great again? Then build. Stop chasing wars. Stop chasing distractions. Stop chasing empire. Bring it home and start again. That's the real America first, and it's the only way forward.